Josh and Frankie with a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, Primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations! There are other places to find us, like at Primus Tracks on Instagram. That other place, what is it, Threads? The email address is primustrackspod@gmail.com. And if you're a Facebook user, go ahead in that search bar up there. Go ahead and type Primus Tracks. You might find something. It might be a page. And it might be run by the one and only, that guy right there, Frankie Bearstein.
Like and follow, though, please. Do not follow and not like, or do not like and not follow. That is just weird.
It's like wearing one sock.
Exactly. What the hell is that?
It's not appropriate, and you will be imprisoned. Do you have a goal that you're trying to get to on the follows and the likes?
Yeah, I think we have 1,000 follows, or that might be 1,000 likes. No, I think we have 1,000 follows.
See,
but we still need to reach 1,000 likes.
See,
yeah,
your socks are all mismatched, Frankie, and
exactly.
It's not your fault.
It's unbearable.
Oh goodness, yeah, that feeling's horrendous. But I know a guy, Frankie, who can help us out. He's been around the podcast for a while, and he's holding a really nice bass guitar right there, and he's going to prove his metal today by helping us out with the one and only Ding Dang from the Purple Onion record. Alex Dalasio, I said it right this time. Welcome to Primus Tracks.
Hey guys.
Hey Alex.
Happy to be here. I've seen some shit since we've talked last.
Seen some shit. Well, you
Primus related shit.
Oh man. Well, you sound real chill about it. It didn't affect you too deeply, I hope. Well, tell us, this is your first time on the pod here, Alex, and tell us a little bit about your musical background and some of the music that you do, because last I checked, it was about 78 albums you had on Bandcamp or something like that, so what's going on there?
It's 10. Thank you.
I was close.
I just put out my 10th album in March. The project's called Psychedelic Waves. It's heavily influenced by Primus, obviously, Black Sabbath, Dick Dale, Pink Floyd. It's got some jazz elements, some surf elements, classical guitar elements. So I play all the instruments on that. You can see all my instruments back here behind me.
So you are drawn from a lot of great influences, because I can tell you I like all those names. So that's great, man. Looking forward to that. And it's Psychedelic Waves. That's the title, name of the effort, and those are on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp and Spotify as well.
And Spotify. Ooh, you're getting fancy over there. So tell us about, so you're holding a bass. So how long you been plunking on that bass, and what does it have anything to do with being a Primus fan?
It does not, actually.
Oh, really?
But,
so your bass experience predates your Primus fandom?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I played bass before I liked Primus, yeah.
Okay. No, I should say that's fairly rare, I think, because usually Primus is the catalyst for that sort of thing. Okay, so how far along were you with the bass when you heard Primus and probably had your mind blown?
Probably 10 years. I was playing bass for about 10 years, yeah.
So what do you recollect those thoughts that you first had when you first heard Primus? And what did you first hear from them anyway?
I think Pork Soda was the first album I heard.
Oh, you got a doozy, man.
Pork Soda and Green Algod in the same night.
Oh, wow. Holy cow, man.
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
Pretty good. I was definitely hooked right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just the darkness, the weirdness of Pork Soda, and the production, the drumming, the way the drums they move all the way around the room.
Yeah.
That album got me for sure.
Right on, man. What, were you doing a lot of that thumping and plucking before hearing Primus, or do you think that came later?
I did a little bit of slap stuff before then, but then, I got more into it, obviously, when listening to more Primus stuff.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, we're here. We are talking about Ding Dang today. I believe it's track 6 off of your Purple Onion record from Les Claypool's Frog Brigade. So, Frankie, I know you've got a live history on this one, and then I definitely, Alex, I want to hear your kind of generalized thoughts on it, and then we have to hear that lovely bass that you're holding. But Frankie, what's going on with this track?
Ding Dang was premiered on December 31st, 2001 at the Fillmore in San Francisco. So that's pretty interesting because, as you recall, with Primus Live History, they had a tendency to premiere new songs on New Year's Eve. So in this case, New Year's Eve 2001 saw the premiere of a new Les Claypool composition. The song was played extensively by the Frog Brigade, and then it was passed on to the Fancy Band and then to the Fungi Band. It was never resurrected again after that, and not to our surprise, it was not part of the Frog Brigade reunion tour from last year. The times that it did get performed, though, it was a major jam vehicle. It always lent itself to highly creative improvisations. The middle section of the track is where all hell broke loose. There's actually a professionally shot footage of Ding Dang being performed live in the 5 Gallons of Diesel DVD. So this is one of those songs that was never performed as per the album version. It was always extended way out there beyond the 10-minute mark.
Yes, that heralded 10-minute mark for all these live cuts that
Yeah.
Frankie keeps sending me. Frankie sent me a 14-minute rendition of Ding Dang, Alex. I don't know if you want to hear the whole thing, but so Ding Dang, track 6 from Purple Onion, checks in at 5 minutes and 50 seconds on the record, and clearly they like to double that live. Les Claypool, bass and vocals, Enor on guitar and background vocals, Mike D on vibraphone, Skerrick on fancy sax, and that is indeed Jay Lane on drums. Alex, my first question to you is this a swing song? It has that thing to it, and I don't know. Is it a swing song, or am I making things up?
I mean, it's definitely influenced by that kind of like sing-songy type song for sure.
Yeah, that main bass lick that starts things out, if you just tap it out, it is kind of like, kind of like that. So I don't know if he was influenced or listening to swing music, or if it was just rattling around in his head, or if he was dinking around with it. But what are your general impressions of this tune from a musical standpoint as a bass player?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that I absolutely love Purple Onion.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite Les Claypool album. So I love every single song on this album, but Ding Dang is definitely up there for sure. It's sick. It's got a little funky rhythm. The intro is kind of a funky rhythm. That jam section that Frankie's talking about is top notch for sure. I love that jam section, dude. Subject matter, I mean, I see why they don't play it anymore.
Yeah, we'll get into that for sure.
It has a good message. This
Yep.
song has a really good message, so I dig that too.
So it kind of checks all the boxes, I suppose, or it's a well-rounded tune for you.
This is from the Oxford Dictionary. Ding dong. The simple alternate chimes of a bell. Number 2, resembling a contest, evenly matched and hard fought. Number 3, a silly or foolish person. A nitwit.
So that's the ding dong entry in. Yeah, I remember calling people ding dongs.
Yeah.
And it's it's just a less severe way of letting somebody know that you are displeased with them. But you bring up something funny, Frankie, because the song's called Ding Dang, but I think on Spotify or other places it's been mislabeled as Ding Dong.
Because that's more common. Yeah.
There are probably Claypool fans out there who still refer to this as Ding Dong because that's what Spotify said, or that's what their download on LimeWire said, or whatever it is. So you raise a great point there. And actually, I wanted to reference the title Ding Dang. Are you guys aware of the Beach Boys song of the same title?
It showed up on Google when I was doing research about the song many years ago.
Yeah, so Ding Dang is a song by Brian Wilson and of the Beach Boys, of course, and Roger McGuinn, who was in the Byrds, if I recall correctly. And Brian Wilson was obsessed, I think, from what I've read, about this folk song called Shortening Bread. And he wanted to do something akin to that, or was just so inspired by it. One day he went over to Roger McGuinn's house to score drugs, and he ended up there all night, banged out this tune. I was, of course, unaware of the song until a couple of days ago when I started doing this reading. But it's a catchy little number. So if you'll humor me, I'll play Ding Dang as performed by the Beach Boys. Music by and lyrics by Brian Wilson and Roger McGuinn. You get
Very
the idea.
catchy.
It is. So now there's 2 songs called Ding Dang that I really like.
I see the resemblance. They're both goofy as hell.
That's a good start.
So maybe he got the idea for the chorus from that too, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, of course, because the presentation is different on the Claypool track, but he, I'm sure, was aware of this track. It was released in the 70s. Maybe he wasn't. Who knows? But Ding Dang, it's one of those phrases that people use in the lexicon, so it gets passed around. Getting into the tune, I just want to play that first lick, Alex, and if you don't mind waxing eloquent about it afterwards, I'd appreciate it. All right, what's going on with that lick? Because it sounds first of all, the sound is very elastic rubber bandy bass. But what's going on with that lick?
So, yeah, it's a bunch of hammer-ons, pull-offs. He's also just playing everything with his thumb. So it's a... is that main verse riff. Yeah. It's pulling off of the 7th fret on the A string. Actually, he's hammering on, then pulling off between the 7th and the 5th fret, and then the 7th and the 6th fret. So he's going. With a variety of fills in there, which I don't try to learn his fills. I kind of just make up my own.
So this is kind of typical in Claypool riff structure then, because there's what's solidified as the riff or the lick, but then there's space for improvisation or fills, and he can go in any direction he wants. And so it's pretty cool that you just make up your own, because first of all, I wouldn't try to replicate those. Interesting.
How hard to play is that riff, Alex?
The riff isn't hard. The rhythm's a little hard to keep going after a while, but it's really not that hard.
Okay.
But it is fun to throw in little licks in between there. I mean, he does the same thing live. He doesn't play the same licks as he does on the album.
When you're dinking around with Ding Dang, then with that main lick there, what's a standard fill you might throw in?
I'll just make a couple up, see what I can come up with.
Sure, no pressure.
I improvise everything. My whole life is improvised.
You got a nice fat tone going on too with that bass. What you got? Anything special going on there?
No, it's just plugged in through my Hartkey HD50, which is, I love the tone on the Hartkey amps. They're very clear, very chunky. It's just an American precision bass. Yeah, no crazy pickups or anything.
There's that main lick, and I would imagine, just from playing guitar and being very bad at it, that doing those constant hammer-ons and pull-offs, I think you mentioned it, the timing is tough, but also the stamina for that, because doing that for, obviously he's doing different things, but to do that for almost 6 minutes sounds a bit laborious.
Yeah, it is for sure. And his action is much lower than mine, so on a precision bass, I'm definitely a little fatigued after I play the whole thing. But playing the fills actually makes it easier. It kind of eases up a little some of that fatigue. So I'll throw as many fills as I can.
Because you're repositioning your fingers and just doing something different with them, and so you're kind of not just locked into that box, I suppose. So that's kind of the main lick there, and then we get those flourishes at the end of some of those lines, and then what's he playing there? Is he playing fifths or something? With those flourishes after each line in the verse.
Yeah, so it's like a fifth and an octave chord.
Oh, okay. So
I guess you could just play the octave.
Yeah.
But it sounds more powerful if you do the.
Okay, so he's essentially playing power chords there.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Okay, because it does sound, of course, pretty meaty when they all come in with those flourishes after those lines in the verses. Kind of the walking bass line during the ding dang chorus. It's that one's fascinating to me because that also sounds very jazzy. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, Frankie, but in those live renditions of Dee's Diner, he kind of throws in a jazzy walking bass line. I don't think it's the same thing as what he plays here on Ding Dang, but it's reminiscent. So what do you make of that part? Because that's why I'm thinking, Alex, like, this is a swing song. Ba-ding, boom, ba-ding, boom, ba-ding, boom, ba-ding, boom, ba-ding. And then we get that walking bass line during the chorus, which is fantastic.
A ding dang, a ding dang, hey ho, hey ho, a ding dang, a ding dang, hey ho, hey ho, a ding dang, a ding dang, hey ho, hey ho. No matter where you are, there you go.
During the ding dang part, there's that walking bass line, and then there's that flourish with the power chord, and then some thucking and there's some, and then some thumping and plucking, or in between.
It's funny that was the hardest part for me to learn of the whole song.
It's a style that if you don't play it that often, you have to, you got to get right on it, and it's just it's a different mindset, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't really play those. It's like a major arpeggio type thing. I don't play those kind of bass lines often, so that was the hardest part for me, which is kind of funny. Yeah, so it's just like that major arpeggio type thing. I missed a note or two, but just the gist of it.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
Because we're so used to seeing him play his licks, in a box. And we've talked about that a lot, especially on the Brown album. But that one certainly seems to go out of a box shape. And so you get to move around a bit and play some things you wouldn't normally suspect the guy of playing. It seems like he was stretching himself, but it's a stretch for you too. So what is it that makes that the most difficult part for you?
And it's funny because like the other part's not hard for me at all to play the even with that chord and the type thing. Like that's easy for me to play, but it's just I don't know why. It took me a while to learn that chorus.
We won't make you play it again. Those two parts in particular are the crux of the tune. When we get into that solo, which is, I kind of want to pick up with this solo here because this is where things really open up. It just seems every time Skerritt takes a solo, I have to listen even more closely because he is so dynamic and wild and unruly, I suppose. At the same time, saxophone is just not something I normally listen to, so it sounds different to my ear. A guitar solo is a guitar solo at this point, but a saxophone solo, it's still unusual, even if it's Skerrick, so I'm still going, yes, I gotta hear this. But there's some really powerful music the rhythm section is playing here, so I just want to play a little bit of that and hear your impressions of it. I'll pause it there because there was a little call down in the bass there, but it sounds like he's moving that lick up a step for underneath the solo there.
Yeah, it's a whole step.
And so he's continuing that lick in true Claypoolian fashion. It's stop start to beat the band, so it's the whole band starts and stops, and so there are these pauses. Frankie and I have mentioned numerous times at this point being a hallmark of his songwriting. For you, Alex, how do you feel about that stop-start quality to things? Does that come natural?
Yeah, for sure, and it keeps the listener on their toes.
Oh yeah, I think as a listener, that's my favorite part. Because that silence is so abrupt. I'm counting along, so I think I know what's coming next, but it still is so abrupt. Is that something you use in your songwriting?
Yeah, I definitely use that quite a bit.
I think it does provide that sense of drama. But what do you get out of this solo section? Because for me, I'm keying on Skerrick, but listening to Jay and Les working together, I got to imagine that's compelling for you too.
Yeah, this is a really sick jam section. I love the drumming on this song, obviously. I'm a Jay fan. I think I've mentioned that before. I watched a couple live performances of this, All Good Festival in 2009 with Frog Brigade, and that jam section was really sick. I was trying to figure out the ending lick because it's different live than it is on the recording. I was trying to watch what the hell Les Claypool was doing, and I just could not figure it out. All Good was the Fungi Band, 2019.
Okay.
And then the Chicago one, 2003, was the Frog Brigade. But yeah, the jam section is sick. Section is sick. I love Skerrick, dude. Seeing him live is so much fun.
He always brings it, of course. And on this record, I know we're only about halfway through Frankie, but Skerrick might be my MVP for this record, which is not something we've done yet. We haven't named an MVP for the records that we've covered. We should probably do that as an aside.
He gets my vote for sure.
Yeah, we should start doing that. Maybe retroactively, we can name MVPs for every record we've covered. Being a Jay Lane fan, the drums are mixed. They're obviously not humongous like Tim Alexander drums are normally mixed. They're not mixed like a big rock record, like a Brown album or an Antipop. In headphones or on some nice cans, it makes it a lot easier to hear what Jay Lane's doing on the kit. This is right around the 3-minute mark, and this part is, I think, emblematic of that Les Jay connection. I'm listening to that closed hi-hat, and I'm listening to what Les's thumb is doing. And once again, they're in lockstep. It takes a little bit of concentration to listen to both. I implore you out there listening, listen to the bass and the hi-hat together. As well as the rim shots that Jay's doing here.
A ding dang, hey ho, hey ho, a ding dang, hey ho, hey ho, a ding dang, hey ho, hey ho. No matter where you are, there you go.
So he's just right in on. He's playing on the hi-hat what Les's thumb is doing, that same rhythm. It's so great, and then hitting the rim of that snare is a lot of fun. With that pattern too. So Jay's doing some great stuff, and they're locked in as always. I don't know. Have you ever played with a drummer that you felt a connection like that with, Alex?
Yeah, for sure. The dude I'm jamming with now, I have a similar connection. But I feel like Jay Lane has like three arms sometimes. Like the hi hat never stops. It's like never ever stops, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. It is.
Like, how is he always playing the hi hat?
I don't understand how he's able to do what he's doing on the hi hat, but get to the snare and other cymbals and the toms when he hits one every 6 songs or whatever it is. But that hi hat work is always at the forefront for me. So if Jay Lane's playing, I'm watching that hi hat or listening for it. But once again, they're locked in. Musical dynamics in this one are a lot of fun. Between, I guess, the heavy part, and I'm kind of using air quotes for heavy, but it does have a heavy sound, especially during the solo section, and then the sing-songy nature of the ding-dang chorus, and then that rubbery riff, main lick, that you modeled for us, Alex, with those murky little flourishes around the edges from Enor and Mike D. I think those are really tastefully done. Overall, from a music standpoint, this tune is really catching me again. I'm listening closely to this record for the first time in quite a while, and this one is really grabbing me with its dynamics. And it doesn't feel like a 6-minute tune.
The first thing that strikes me about the song is how, Les is kind of an expert, right, at juxtaposition, but how, serious the lyrics are in terms of the subject matter, yet they are delivered in such an upbeat, almost innocent fashion, right? They are very sing-songy, very catchy, and the music supports them in the same manner. All the time that Les is singing in the song, the music is equally upbeat. But then when the song goes into the bridge, the section that they would jam in the live performances, it becomes incredibly abrasive and complex, and the song changes dynamics completely, and then it goes back to the upbeat fashion that it had at the beginning. So from my perspective, it's like 2 songs in one, and that is something that Les has always done with his music, right? You listen to The Carpenter and the Dainty Bride, and you listen to the bridge, then you listen to the rest of the song. It's the same thing, 2 songs in one. So I think Ding Dang is another example of that tradition. I think it's unfortunate that it has been retired from the live repertoire, because just like David McAllister or Buzzers of Green Hill, I think it would be a really interesting song to explore in terms of musicianship nowadays. It would be fascinating to witness what Les at this point in his career would do with the song, in contrast to what he would do with it 20-odd years back. So I really enjoy the song from the perspective of the musicianship, the way that it kind of combines 2 completely different things in one, and overall the fact that the placement in the record, again, I think it's quite strategic. So coming after Wamola, right, which was mostly instrumental, now we get an actual song, and it's a terrific song at that.
And Alex, for you, Purple Onion being one of your top records, where does this track amongst the 12 on the record rank for you, or otherwise sit, if you're searching for favorites?
Say Cosmic Highway is my first favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Up on the Roof is my second. So I think Ding Dang might be my third.
Yeah. Okay. So it's up there for sure.
It's up there. Yeah.
Oh, right on, man. And Frankie, you brought up that they don't play it, or probably will never play it again. The lyrics are probably the main driver of that. But I wonder, based on some points you made, Alex, I do wonder if it's pretty laborious to play and tough to play anymore, for a guy getting into his 60s. Because it is pretty bouncy, and it's got a lot going to it. Because watching your hands, Alex, you're putting in the work on this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun work for sure.
Yeah. And I know you're not 60 yet, but is it tough at your age anyway?
Honestly, I don't think this song is that hard to play. If you have that technique down, then it comes naturally.
Okay.
The thing with a lot of Les Claypool stuff is the technique. It's not necessarily the riff itself or the song itself that is hard. It's the technique.
And in particular for this one, the thumping, the plucking, the hammering on, the pulling off, and just getting all that timing down, it sounds like. So speaking of those lyrics, we might as well talk about them.
Jeez Louise.
It's not as bad as it seems. There are, of course, some terms, but as far as the lyrics go, we have 4 distinct narratives, and they're all in the same format, with a refrain and a chorus. And so structurally, the lyrics are already compelling because we get 4 really short vignettes, and they all kind of have the same ending. So here's your template. They called him blank when he blank. He grew up to be a blank. They said blank, and it's a really long blank there. They said blank, and he grew up to be a blank. And that's the repetition. Grew up to be an angry young man, ignorant man, incarcerated man, what have you. And then we get that refrain of ding, dang, hey ho, no matter where you are, there you go. So in the verses, we really don't have a rhyme scheme, which is unusual for Claypool lyrics, but we do have that repetition, especially of the word man, and its qualifier, incarcerated man, angry young man, and so on. First, I suppose I should mention that chorus, Frankie, ding dang, hey ho, that sing-songy part, no matter where you are, there you go. He's inverting a phrase, no matter where you go, there you are, which is, I think it's just, I think it's one of those philosophical sayings or philosophical jokes.
Yeah.
That it's self-evident, right? No matter where you go, there you are. And so that one, I remember it from Buckaroo Banzai, of all places, that old movie with Peter Weller. And Frankie is a RoboCop fan. I don't know if you've seen Peter Weller and Buckaroo Banzai.
Yes.
Bonkers movie. A lot of fun. Anyway, it's from that movie, but I'm sure it was uttered well before Buckaroo Banzai. But Les just inverts it with, no matter where you are, there you go. There's a couple of reasons for that. And it has to do, of course, with these 4 vignettes. So in all 4 of them, we have bigotry being put upon these young people, and it has a profound effect on their adult lives. They grow up bitter, angry, incarcerated, ignorant. There's this phenomenon called, in the education world and the health world, called adverse childhood experiences. And there was this huge longitudinal study done, and the short version is kids who had specific types of adverse experiences when they were children were more likely to have health problems, physical and mental health issues later on in life. And so, as we know, our childhood years are incredibly formative in an educational aspect, social aspect, cultural aspect, you name it. I think Les is playing on that here, that idea of nurture over nature for this aspect of life. And how we treat others, of course, contributes to their futures. And that's, for me as a teacher, that's duh. But Les is giving us a message here. So those people facing discrimination on whatever basis will likely be disenfranchised, ostracized, leading to those negative outcomes. Les, of course, puts it more artistically within the format of the lyrics. But there's no disputing the overall message here. It's a message of positivity, brotherhood, and just being kind to other people, right? It sounds like a simplistic message because it kind of is. And Alex, you pointed to that earlier. It's a positive message. And I think where some of us are getting hung up in the preceding 20 years is some of the terminology. And so he's using a couple of terms, but he's not using them in a mean-spirited fashion or nefariously. He's demonstrating the power of those words, their nefarious nature, I suppose, or the ugliness of using those terms with other people. Words matter.
Approaching the topic of the controversy surrounding this song, I think we need to address the topic of cancellation and cancel culture, and how it's just a matter of time before someone is doing some digging, they find out something they don't like from 20 years ago or so, and they hold it against the creator. And the problem here is that we do have precedents. Iggy Pop was questioned, what he was confronted about a song called African Man on one of his records. And I mean, I guess at this point in his career, he just doesn't want to get into any trouble. So he said, I wouldn't have a problem if they removed the song from streaming platforms. Like, he didn't even try to defend it. David Byrne got accused of doing blackface on a comedy sketch that he did to promote Stop Making Sense back in '84. Now, if you look at the sketch, I mean, I'm not trying to justify it. I'm not saying it's either right or wrong, but what I'm saying is that from what I have read, and this is coming from the perspective of someone who will never fully grasp what what African American or minorities went through in terms of discrimination, at least not to that degree. I mean, I will never have that perspective, but looking from outside and trying to be as objective as possible, based on what I have researched, blackface was done in order to humiliate and ridicule Black people. And that's not what David Byrne was doing on the sketch. I mean, his face was actually painted brown. I don't think it can even be described as blackface. Joni Mitchell recently modified the cover of one of her albums because she was also accused of doing blackface on the cover. Elvis Costello was also confronted about a term that he used in a song. And that term refers to, I mean, in the context of his song, it refers to Irish immigrants. The term applied to immigrants and their descendants. And sometimes they were also nicknamed Negroes turned inside out. But he was not using the term as a racial slur. He was using the term in the context of the narrative of a song. And when they asked him if that particular word should be bleeped out on streaming platforms, his answer was, I mean, just remove the song altogether, but don't censor my lyrics, right? In the case of the Butthole Surfers, the song Negro Observer has been removed from streaming platforms. So it's actually missing from the Psychic Powerless album as it has been reissued by Matador Records. So we have this precedent where things get deleted, things get removed, things get taken down, and I don't think it would be fair for Ding Dang to be removed at some point, or if we try to pretend that it doesn't exist. Because even I, from the perspective as a teenager, when I heard the record, even then, I knew that Les was singing from the perspective of an observer. He was singing about characters. He was not actually insulting anybody. He was not actually discriminating anyone. He was speaking from the perspective of characters. And he was actually addressing something really important. If you treat people in a particular way, they will grow up to be a certain way. So I think lyrically, the song is quite powerful. It still resonates true to this day. So I think removing it or pretending that it's evil is a disservice. I don't think the controversy surrounding the song is deserved at all. That's just my perspective.
Well, you raised, you raised a couple of points that are really important. Is you and I, we can't understand the weight that's put upon subjugated groups, especially those that have been discriminated against and subjugated for centuries, and are still coming out of that. I think we can approximate it. Okay, so we can understand the power of those words and why people would be uncomfortable with them, even if they're used artistically to make a point, which is being done here. To another point you were making, I think Les is just smart to let it lie and not let that be the focus as he moves forward, or when he's coming back around to the Frog Brigade. Just don't consider that one. Just let it drop, play your other tunes, and fly under that radar of outrage culture and that sort of thing. You know, where, like you said, people are digging this stuff up just for the reaction and just for the outrage, that manufactured outrage. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that his intent was positive. Did he need to use the terms? That's up for debate, and we don't have to debate that today. But
and speaking objectively, we adore Les's music. We are still objective enough to recognize if he made a mistake or if he did something inappropriate. Objectively speaking, I don't think it's the case here. I mean, if you do search African Man by Iggy Pop, holy shit, yeah, that, I mean, that is just really hard to defend.
Yeah.
But my perspective is that it doesn't mean it should be taken down or it should be removed. Offensive as it might be, it's a part of history in some way because it's part of a record. Now, if you don't like it, if you find it offensive, then don't listen to it, ignore it, criticize it as much as you want online, confront the artist if you want, but do not remove it. That's all I'm saying. So I hope Ding Dang never gets that fate.
It's not missing from streaming platforms, is it? I wouldn't know.
Ding Dang, as far as I'm aware, no.
Okay.
But that's what I fear, that if other stuff has been taken down, hopefully that doesn't happen to this song.
You've referenced some other songs that are more in that gray area of art versus something else in that in-between, but I think this one certainly stands on artistic merit, and I believe that.
Yeah.
I know it makes people uncomfortable.
It's a really complex topic.
Yep.
When I read that Johnny Mitchell had to modify her album cover, I read a lot about it, and it's not something that she did exclusively for the record. It's something that she actually did consistently. She would dress up as a male pimp, and she would paint her skin of a different color. And she was amused at how she would attend parties or walk on the street, and people had no idea that it was actually her. They did believe that it was a black guy walking down the street or at a party. And I don't know, her friends didn't mind it. Her friends thought it was hilarious. None of them thought that it was remotely offensive. So it's really complex to assess what is right or wrong. I'd like to believe she was doing it just for the social experiment aspect of it, that she was not actually trying to ridicule anyone. But I mean, you never know, right?
I think we can conclude that this one, I don't think it even toes the line. I think Les has his message, and I think it's smart of him just to let it lie anymore, and it's out there, and people can come to their own conclusions as far as intent. You want to hear some Primates takes?
Let's hear how Brooks completely annihilates our our long conversation.
That beautiful music you hear is courtesy of one of our many Primatrons, Johnny Perona. If you would like to participate in Primates Takes, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. And one of the universal benefits of supporting Josh and Frankie over there is I'll put up a track for discussion, and you get to post your thoughts on it, and I'll read them right here on the podcast. Let's start with Brooks, shall we, Frankie? Brooks breaks it down as such. Music, thumbs up emoji. Lyrics, wide eyes emoji. Done and done. We're out of here.
Done.
Thanks for breaking it down, Brooks. John Shreve says, this was one of the most entertaining songs I remember seeing live, and I get that I probably shouldn't play it for my 6-year-old daughter who likes to sing along. The ebb and flow of the layers on this track make it a tragedy. It can only be consumed at the risk of feedback from whoever is around you. Well put, John. Eric in Australia says, really, this is less at its finest with social commentary. The message is very noble. The song itself is somewhat similar to Long in the Tooth, with the cracking bass line accentuated by the flourishes of talent from the conspirators.
Interesting.
Jordan Kahn says, seen it twice. Reminds me of the Guns N' Roses 1 in a Million controversy. There's a theory that Axl wrote Madagascar as an apology. I'd like to think Les did so on Eyes of the Squirrel. That's interesting because there's that lyrical reference of another arrogant ass says he's got an N-word pass. But I think that was in reference to John Mayer or somebody else saying that shit, that they had an N-word pass.
He actually, and he brings that up. He brought it up during a show. I don't recall which one, but yeah. Okay. All of that social commentary on Green Naugahyde is super, super specific of the year at hand.
Very much so, yeah.
It's like a snapshot of of,
Yeah.
of the year it was released.
Yeah, and I don't think Les thinks he has an N-word pass in for this tune. But once again, I think he's using it artistically to convey the power of our words against other people, or the power that our words have on other people. Our last primate take will be from Travis in Alaska. It's up to you to determine which. Who says, this is one of the greatest Claypoolian walking bass lines in existence. The fills incorporated into the thumped and plucked walking bass line are magical. I love this tune, and as others have mentioned, wish I could play it in polite company. There's the walking bass lines, Alex. You got a fan.
Somebody's got to be a fan.
Somebody's got... just not Alex. I will say, when I was playing guitar more regularly, I found a walking bass line exercise from Larry Coryell, and it was a blast to learn. Difficult as all hell, but it was so fun. I felt really accomplished, being able to play it somewhat competently. I think I understand the challenge of them rhythmically, but they sound badass when you get it down. All right, how about live cuts, Frankie? You brought so many live cuts. We're going to be here for a ding-dang another hour.
There are some crazy things in there.
Crazy things. Alex, how well-versed are you in the live recordings of Frog Brigade and Fungi Band and so on?
Can I tell the difference between the groups, you mean?
Oh, we won't quiz you on drummers or anything like that. Well,
I can definitely tell the difference for sure.
Oh, good. Well, prepare yourself for this, Alex, because you're going to hear all kinds of live cuts today. Our first, this is from Frankie's Frog Brigade live selections, so we don't have a date, we don't have a location.
Nope.
We do get to hear the intro to this live rendition of Ding Dang. Ooh, crowd likes it. Atmosphere. What do you like about that intro, Frankie?
I like that it's crisp. It's so clear. You can hear what each guy is doing on their corresponding instruments, and it's very pleasing.
Alex, were you pleased by that intro?
Very pleased. Who's on drums?
There's no show information because this is Frankie's fantasy box set that has no metadata on it when he sends it to me, so couldn't tell you. Well, let's play a little bit more. Let's play a wall of sound from the same live cut and see if we can determine who the drummer is. Oh, yeah. I'm going to guess Steamy Dean.
That solo was screeching.
That was, yeah, that was. That'll get the plaque off your teeth. Our next live cut is Back to the Everglades in 2008. We've sampled from this Langarado Music Festival before. Now we're going to hear the Ding Dang Breakdown.
Ding dang, no matter where you are, there you go.
Oh yeah. That's got to be Paulo on drums, right, Frankie?
Totally.
He's very, very in the pocket. It's definitely Paulo Baldi.
Yeah, he's on it. And let's move forward in this same live date and hear Greasy D near the end. Is this Greasy D Light, Frankie?
Yes.
I like what Les was doing too underneath. Is this the show where he had the that crunchy envelope filter the whole?
Is the show
whole time?
where the envelope filter was on for the entire set.
Let's go on a jam cruise. Let's hear some cello. It's not the same without the saxophone. I think Skerrick makes this tune, but maybe this will change my mind. What the hell is Les doing there, Alex? Can you tell? Making you cry? Is that what he's doing?
I don't know what he's doing. Having fun, that's for sure.
He sure is. That sounds pretty involved. That sounds great. And Frankie labeled that awesome bass. I don't disagree. And finally, when you're on Jam Cruise, you might as well get in the bathtub. What? Bathtub, Frankie? What is this all about? Frankie,
Bathtub, I wrote.
You put bathtub for this timestamp.
Wow, and that was, what, like a week ago?
You sent this to me 3 weeks ago.
Lord knows what was going through my mind.
Get in the tub. Damn, that sounds cool.
Oh, I know what I know what I wrote bathtub.
Please tell
Because
us.
of Hello Skinny, because the track goes into Hello Skinny. Skinny
Oh.
was born in a bathtub.
Nicely done. It sure does sound like it's transitioning to it right here. Oh, yeah. There it is. Very nice. That's a fun transition from Ding Dang to the Residents, which I didn't know was possible, but they did it. And we have one more bonus cut. It's the Fancy Band, July 22, 2006, Cleveland, Ohio. And this is, Frankie, you hunted this one down for a specific reason.
Because it just sounds really cool.
All right, well, let's hopefully we blow Alex out of his comfy looking chair with this here Ding Dang. Boy, that's building to something. By the way, there's over 3 minutes left in this performance. Does it resolve at any point?
Yeah, there's a catharsis, and then you get the final verse.
Nice. I do like what they're building there with that loop. That's fun. Alex, I hope those met muster with you.
Amazing.
Alex just made the international symbol for my heart is full. Fantastic. Well, I suppose I can say this. Ding dang, no matter where you are, you've been tracked. Next time, Frankie, we're going to take a special trip to Barrington Hall.
Does anyone here remember Barrington?
Get it? Trip? Alex, thanks so much for joining us for Ding Dang. I appreciate your presence.
Anytime.
I'm going to say it right. Keep thumping and plucking away over there, buddy. And I encourage you to pick up some walking bass lines. Maybe not.
I will.
You do you. Maybe just hum them instead.
Much easier.
That's the key. You can find Alex's musical efforts, Psychedelic Waves, on Bandcamp and Spotify. I think you can find this podcast on Spotify. Have fun
Sure
building
can.
a playlist out. Primates, thank you all so much for supporting the podcast. We'll see you next time. Later days.
Willie Mays.